Texas lawmakers are expecting the federal government to take a stronger stance on border security in the new year. Expecting, but not necessarily counting on it. This is Monday, December 30th, 2024.
Texas Scorecard presents the day's first news for the Lone Star State. The Texas Minute, with your host, Michael Quinn Sullivan.
Welcome into Monday. Thanks for kicking off your week with the Texas Minute. Today we're looking at some of the stories that played heavily in 2024 and will continue to impact the Lone Star State in 2025. Let's get to it. At the start of 2024, casino gambling interests that pushed for the legalization of so-called destination gambling in 2023 had every reason to be optimistic about their possibilities. Now, though, their efforts are in shambles. Las Vegas Sands led the political effort in Texas, and despite its name, the company exclusively operates casinos outside the United States and primarily in China. They contributed nearly $2 million to House members closely aligned with Speaker Dade Phelan. An affiliated group called the Texas Defense Political Action Committee sent almost $9 million in support of Phelan and his allies. Many of those incumbents lost their primaries, and this fall, Phelan dropped out of the race for re-election as House Speaker. You might recall that shortly after the November election, Governor Greg Abbott announced several measures to counter China's influence in Texas. At the same time, though, Las Vegas Sands announced a $15 million donation to establish the Chinese Appreciation Institute at the University of Nevada. So that lets you know where Sands stands. Election security is expected to receive attention from lawmakers in the Texas Capitol when the 140-day legislative session kicks off in January. Topping those discussions will be widespread instances of school official shenanigans in the 2024 primaries. Attorney General Ken Paxton, for example, launched investigations into on-the-clock electioneering with taxpayer resources by school officials in Frisco, Hutto, Denison, Castleberry, Huffman, and Aledo. In Denton, two administrators pled guilty to having used the district's email system to push their efforts to interfere in the Republican primary and campaign against school choice candidates. Meanwhile, confusion was sown ahead of the November election when the Secretary of State's office first issued, then retracted guidance allowing non-citizen IDs to be used for voting. All of which, election security advocates say, points to the need for legal clarification and reform in 2025. Governor Greg Abbott is being urged to set as a priority legislation that protects children from sexualization. Llano County parent and conservative activist Bonnie Wallace is leading the effort. Constitutionally, lawmakers can't act on proposed legislation during the first 60 days of a session unless the topic is designated an emergency by the governor. Wallace has identified several loopholes currently in the state's indecency laws, including in the definition of harmful materials and the so-called affirmative defenses for displaying, distributing, or selling them. Wallace told Texas Scorecard that thousands of people from 218 of Texas's 240 counties have already signed on to the letter to Governor Abbott. Individuals wishing to do so must add their names before January 2nd. You can find a link to it in the TexasScorecard.com article by Aaron Anderson. The Texas Minute will be right back.
Ever wonder where the money from the Texas Lottery really goes? Spoiler alert. The lion's share isn't going to education. In fact, the lottery only funds about 2 or 3 days of public education every year. In Season 9 of Exposed, we break down how lawmakers sold the lottery to Texas voters, how the system was stacked against low-income players from day one. From rigged lottery jackpots to corporate scandals, the Texas Lottery's past is full of corruption, a trend that continues today. Tune in to Exposed, Gateway Drug, and uncover the truth about what's really happening behind the scenes.
Episodes available January 7th.
Throughout 2024, illegal immigration continued to impose human and financial costs on Texas, all caused by the outgoing Biden administration's open border policies. The year began with the Biden administration ordering federal agents to tear down state-erected border barriers, though Texas's right to construct such fences on state property was later upheld. Illegal aliens were responsible for rampant crime and property damage throughout Texas in 2024, but it was the brutal murder of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary of Houston by two illegal aliens from Venezuela that put a tragic face to the issue. So, what's next? Well, despite promises of federal help to come, Texas lawmakers are continuing to prepare measures to further secure the state's border with Mexico. For example, Republican State Senator Bob Hall of Edgewood has filed legislation to create an agency specifically charged with immigration enforcement and intercepting smuggling operations. You can find details of all the stories mentioned today and keep up with the latest news by visiting TexasScorecard.com. This edition of the Texas Minute was based on the original reporting of Daniel Greer, Emily Medeiros, Aaron Anderson, and Will Biagini. I look forward to seeing you out around the Lone Star State. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the first news of the day for the Lone Star State. This has been the Texas Minute with your host, Michael Quinn Sullivan.